Hey, what's up guys? Today we're going to talk about all the references to Hades and Persephone from Greek mythology within Midnight Sun by Stephenie Meyer. So if you have not seen my review for Midnight Sun, please check out in the link down below in the description box. I was the first person to get a review of, which I was super happy about. And I will also leave a link in the description to donate to the real life TWILIGHT tribe to help them move their community buildings and their homes to higher ground to escape a natural disaster. If you have money, please check that out. And let's get started. I'm going to talk about first of all the actual myth, and then we'll talk about all of the references within Midnight Sun. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and please subscribe. It really helps with my channel. And let's just get started talking about Hades and Persephone. So a very basic overview of the myth is that Hades, who is the god of the underworld, came up to take Persephone to be his wife and bring her to the underworld with him with the permission of her father Zeus. When her mother Demeter, I think that's how you pronounce that, found out, she attempted to bring Persephone back to the overworld. However, Persephone had eaten a pomegranate given to her by Hades, and in Greek mythology, if you ate the food given to you by your captor, you must always return to them. A deal was worked out that meant that Persephone could return to the overworld for 6 months out of the year and would live in the underworld for the rest of the year. This is a very, very basic overview. There's a lot more details to it than that, but that's pretty much all you need to know. And obviously, in the comparisons, Hades is Edward and Bella is Persephone. I also think there's a reference to be had between Persephone spending half her time in the overworld and half her time in the underworld. This kind of symbolises Bella spending half her time in the vampire world and half her time in the human world. So now you have a basic overview, let's get started talking about all of the different quotes. The very first reference to the myth is in chapter 9, Port Angeles, as Edward and Bella are out for dinner together and she is questioning him on himself and trying to work out if he is a vampire. So the very first quote is, "Suddenly as she ate, a strange comparison entered my head. For just a second I saw Persephone, pomegranate in hand, dooming herself to the underworld. Is that who I was? Hades himself? Coveting springtime, stealing it, condemning it to an endless night? I tried unsuccessfully to shake the impression." So this one is very self-explanatory. It is very much just quoting from the myth. Edward is comparing Bella to Persephone and himself to Hades and wondering if by him entering Bella's world, he is taking her away from the overworld, aka the world of normality with humans, and dooming her to a life of endless nights with the vampires. Obviously, the vampires in Twilight never die, never sleep, or anything like that, so that is also a reference here. And I just think it's very interesting that, you know, Stephenie Meyer kind of beats you over the head with the comparison between the myth and this story in this quote, but it's very much straight to the point and very interesting. It also is interesting that he says, "I tried unsuccessfully to shake the impression," and as I'm about to show you, he does not shake the impression. This is a recurring theme throughout the book. Our next reference is in chapter 10 called Theory, and at this stage Bella is pretty much sure that she is in love with Edward, and she's also pretty much sure that he's a vampire. So she is still questioning him, and she's also telling him that she cannot live without him. So the quote related to the myth is, "Every word we spoke here, each one of them was another pomegranate seed." This is referencing the fact that Persephone ate 6 pomegranate seeds, and that is why she can spend 6 months of the year in the underworld and 6 months in the overworld. But Edward is pretty much realising that it is already too deep, and every time they speak to each other, Bella is just getting more involved in his world and more involved in the underworld and more involved in the vampire world. So every time that they speak together, she's becoming more obsessed with him and more in love with him, and he is comparing that obviously to the pomegranates. Our next quote is again still in chapter 10. Bella is saying that she does not care that he is a vampire and that she is in love with him and wants to be with him regardless. And at this moment, Edward thinks, "They stole the colour from her skin and plunged her into darkness, into the underworld." At this point, it is too late. Bella is fully into the vampire world and she cannot return to the life that she had before. And Edward is pretty much just comparing the fact that he has dragged her into his world to Hades, dragging Persephone into the underworld. Chapter 10 actually has a third reference as well. They are saying that they are going to meet up the next day, Edward and Bella, and he thinks, as long as we are on our way down to hell, why not enjoy the journey? So at this point, he is also given into the fact that it is too late and there's nothing he can change. Bella is already coming into the vampire world, and he's like, if she knows, we might as well have fun. In chapter 11, Interrogations, Edward is telling Bella that she is too good for the vampire world, that she should be with a normal human being, and he thinks, She'd done nothing to deserve my underworld. Again, he's just comparing himself to Hades, comparing the vampire world to the underworld, and the fact that Bella, the same as Persephone, didn't voluntarily bring herself there. Edward and Hades brought them to their world, but at this point it is too late, and Edward, is starting to regret it. I don't know how much Hades in the original myth really regrets bringing Persephone with him. I don't think he does at all. So this one kind of skews differently, but the fact that, they were the ones that brought the woman into their world is very much reflected in this quote. In chapter 14, named Closer, Edward is still grappling with the fact that he has brought Bella into his world and still feeling guilty about it, and he thinks, stay in Persephone's spring, keep her safe from my underworld. Again, I don't know how much this is different from the mythology, because like I've said, I don't think Hades really regretted bringing Persephone into the underworld, whereas Edward very much regrets bringing Bella into the vampire world. But this is just another small reference saying that Bella should stay in the human world and does not belong with him in the vampire world. Chapter 15, Probability, has a really interesting quote. Alice has just saw a vision of Bella as a vampire with the family, with Alice in the future, and Edward is not happy with this. As we all know, Edward does not want Bella to become a vampire. He doesn't even want her to be a human in the vampire world, never mind become a vampire herself. So after he sees Alice's vision through his mind reading, he thinks, one too many pomegranate seeds and she was bound to the underworld with me. No way back. Springtime, sunlight, family, future, soul, all stolen from her. This is again very on the nose, just saying that Bella has eaten far too many pomegranate seeds, she is in too deep with the Cullens, and because of Alice's visions of the future, there is no way to change it. Maybe. Alice's visions are, not always correct, but pretty much Bella is now trapped in the underworld with Edward, and as we all know, the vampires are not supposed to go back to their normal family or friends because one, they will suspect that something is wrong, and two, there is a big chance that they will kill them. So he is just saying, Bella can no longer go out in the sunlight, she can no longer see Charlie or Renee, her future is completely different now, she will no longer have a normal human future, and her soul, we all know Edward is very obsessed with the concept of souls. He thinks that because they're vampires, they do not have souls, and therefore can no longer go into heaven if they die, which, vampires can die, but it's just more difficult. So this quote is very interesting to me, and just really shows that Bella is in so deep, and Alice's visions are, as we know later on in the series, proven correct. In chapter 16, The Knot, Edward and Bella go to the meadow together so that he can show her his full vampire form, him glittering in the light. And we have this quote, her fingers trailed over the taller flowers and I was reminded again of Persephone, springtime personified. I never really mentioned this before because I didn't think it was that relevant, but Persephone is the goddess of springtime. So Bella in the meadow surrounded by all these flowers is just another reference to the fact that she is Persephone, and in the legends, Persephone would be in a garden in the springtime surrounded by flowers. In chapter 17, Confessions, we have another quote. At this stage in the book, they're still in the meadow and Bella is telling Edward that she wants to stay with him forever and hinting that she wants to become a vampire. We have this quote, Hades and his pomegranate, how many toxic seeds had I already infected her with? This is related to Alice's vision again and the fact that there's almost no going back now. Bella is fully in the vampire world, aka the underworld, and Edward says right after this quote that Alice had seen her pale and grieving in my absence. So even if he leaves, Bella's life is destroyed either way. She either becomes a vampire, which he thinks will destroy her life, or he leaves her and she becomes so depressed that she basically wastes away. In chapter 20, Carlisle, Bella is in Edward's house and is just viewed his CD collection, and they're talking about the fact that he no longer has any secrets with her and that he feels really happy about the fact that they can just be completely honest with each other. We then have the quote, a flicker of unease twisted my expression. I thought of pomegranate seeds for the first time in a while. It felt right to have her here, but was that just selfishness blinding me? So Edward is still fighting with the fact that he is very happy to have Bella in his life, and he is really glad that she is in his world and they have no more secrets, but he thinks he's being very selfish, that he still dragged her to the underworld like Hades against her will, and even though she's enjoying herself now and she's in love with him, he still feels guilty with the fact that he brought her into the world. So our final quote is in chapter 28, named 3 Conversations, and this is right at the end of the book, after the whole ballet studio scene, and they are in hospital. Edward has just had a conversation with Renee, Bella's mother, and he says the quote, "Pomegranate seeds and my underworld. Hadn't I just witnessed a brutal example of how badly my world could go wrong for her?" Again, this one is just very simple, and it's just showing that even though they've gone through all of this together, Bella has been very badly injured. She could have died, and it's all due to the fact that Edward brought her into his underworld, into the vampire world. And he is very distraught about what happened to her. He blames himself completely for the fact that she's in hospital and is injured and nearly died. And this leads into, later on in New Moon, when he thinks he has to leave her to save her. And it's just a very honest quote that shows that, yes, the vampire world is no place for a human, and the underworld is no place for the goddess of spring, but somehow, through love, they make it work. And those were pretty much all of the references to the myth of Hades and Persephone within Midnight Sun by Stephenie Meyer. I'm pretty sure I never missed any. If I did, please let me know in the comments, but I'm 100% sure that I didn't. And if you have anything you think I said wrong, please let me know. I'm not super, into myths or anything like that, and I will leave a link in the description as well to a much more in-depth video about the Hades and Persephone myth. But, what I thought was really interesting when I was researching it is one of the myth videos I watched did say that in some tellings of the story, Hades is the bad guy who dragged Persephone there against her will and, held her captive. And others believe that he's more misunderstood and that he didn't mean to harm Persephone, and the fact that she remains there in the underworld with him is actually through love and not through any, bad things. So I thought it was really interesting, and again, really relates to Twilight and the fact that Edward feels like he is dragging Bella there against her will, but Bella is willingly entering the vampire world, and just the parallels there. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, please leave a comment, let me know your thoughts, and also please subscribe. It would really help out my channel. It would mean a lot to me, make me happy. So thank you again for watching, and I will see you in my next video.